Hello YouTube and welcome back to the Monogatari reaction series here, of course, back again here again today again for episodes 6.5 and 7, I guess we'll call them. I think that's what they're being denoted as anyway. So yeah, happy to be back. I'm technically doing a double episode today, so that's cool, but with, again, some caveats that I'll talk about. I think the best way to talk about them is framed through the comment here from Backslash, so let's just jump into that. Specifically here, I think this is where we'll start to talk about our structure a little bit, right? So it was alerted to me previously that episode 6.5 was a thing, so don't do 6.5 on its own. I think it's about half length. I don't have an exact length on that, but I'd imagine Koyomi Monogatari length between 12 and 14 minutes, something like that. Again, we'll see. So again, that's not enough for one episode. Obviously, pair it with episode 7. Apparently, those two episodes kind of go together anyway, so should work pretty well. Now, the part that I didn't know right now is that after episode 8, that's another arc ending. So that's a pretty short turnaround for an arc. And yeah, as we'll do 6.5 and 7 today, and then finish off that arc with episode 8 the following week. I believe somewhere in there as well there was a small delay. There was a week delay, I believe, in an episode, so I'm kind of catching up without catching up, if you know what I mean. Like, if the show's going to continue to do these delays, then maybe I don't rush out very far ahead as well. I think that's, yeah, probably for the best. Even though, again, I could probably fill a week with something else, just a one-off of, I don't know, maybe a movie. Hey, again, I'm sure I'll find a way to make content. That's kind of my job. So yeah, that's going to be the structure from here on in. And again, keep me alerted with when arcs and further delays, that kind of stuff. That's probably going to keep us making the best videos and stopping points and that kind of stuff. So yeah. Either way, I've already got the comments up here, so we'll continue to jump into Backslash's comment from the very start now. Specifically here with kind of, I guess, a justification for the lack of comments, because again, if you guys have been with the Monogatari reaction series from the very start, it kind of had a lot of YouTube comments, like a lot. And again, we've got some theories as to why the comments have, I wouldn't say dried up, but kinda, a little bit. Well, one of them is that it's Patreon exclusive now, so if you wanted to be a patron and comment stuff at me, you could. But I think the more prominent one here is that people just don't know what's coming next. Genuinely, all the post-Zoku Owari stuff hasn't been officially translated, I don't think, from reading this. There's fan translations on Reddit, 4chan, and even Wattpad, apparently, so again, if you wanted to check out those at your leisure, you could if you were that into Monogatari, but I don't think that represents a large proportion of the fan base of Monogatari. So again, maybe that's speaking to this lack of comments. People on the same page I am, making the same assumptions I am all the time. Maybe I'm just on the money with what most people were thinking about at the time. I hope so. It's weird, it feels like I'm flying blind a little bit, which is also kind of fun. I like flying blind, that's part of the appeal of a blind reaction channel. Hopefully in the future the rest gets officially translated. If we're kind of going here that Bake through Zoku have been translated, then hey, that's kind of matching what's been adapted anime-wise, so hopefully they get officially translated in a very similar manner to the other ones. That would be great. Like I know you can't quite see it, but Bake Monogatari is up there somewhere. Like that one. And here we've already addressed the kind of scheduling stuff as well. Yeah, I go into it here and continuing. And we have the second comment and last comment here from Backslash. If you want a route to make me happy, just say that I'm funny. Like, honestly. Specifically shouting out the Shinobu jump scare and the feet on screen that were there. I find myself very funny. Which I know, yeah, of course you do. So hey, thanks. Thanks for finding me funny. I find me funny too. It's good. We can agree on something, I guess. Either way, with that, we'll finish off the YouTube comments, and we'll go over to those patrons and give them a shout-out, of course. $6 a month, of course, if you wanted to get the videos 1 week early. That is your prerogative, of course. I really do appreciate the support on the channel. Really do. So, again, appreciating said supporters with Mickey Babbers, Trails++, Anders Harlan, Backslash, Bobbin, Chobo Ribby, Domobot, Ed, Fancy Question Mark, Fleur Nightingale, Fried Rice, Fruit, Gloriana Tenebrae, Glyke, Gus N, Heath, Hex, Ika, Yanko Yavanen, Joran, Kelvin, Kimskell, Clem, Nosta, Kot Begemoth, Lou, Mish, Mistako Chen, Nailu, Parnik, Pencil Shop 333, Ron Lad B&K, Saint Lily, Sal, Sam1373, Skeleton, Fueco, Without a Net, Zan Echo, Zach, Binshi, Hans Peter, Marsh, Voodoo Chili, Aidan O'Brien, Funny Fat Guy, and Yuno Meme. Thank you to all those people for, of course, giving me money. So, last week we finished off an arc. It was all very lovely and emotional and stuff. Really did enjoy that conclusion to Nadeko's character stuff for at least right now. Again, the stuff that's leading on, she is transitioning into being a specialist type operator. So more stuff there. She's going to actively work with Gaian and Yotsugi and that kind of stuff. So shoutouts to that. That seems cool. Can't really think of much else beyond that other than she's just become a lot more sure of herself and kind of combined these disparate elements of herself into one in a very cool way. Again, we talked about it for like an hour last week. It was very good. More specifically, what does a 6.5 even mean? How does it set up something? So essentially, episode 1 of this season, right, was kind of a setup episode in a lot of ways. It's setting up this whole kind of Tsukihi conundrum, which then again spins off into Nade Monogatari and Nadeko's whole thing. So it's a setup episode in that regard, but it's kind of its own unique little story as well. I'm foreseeing something kind of similar. Question mark, do we see Araragi? Are we going to meet the guy, the main character guy of the show? Maybe. Or maybe his stuff's done. Again, Zoku Owari, if anything, it's concluding his arc. Is he just done? Does the show have a new main character now, and is that main character Nadeko? I don't know. Again, this is great. I have no clue. Again, I have a general indicator. At some point down the line, there's probably going to be some Shinobu stuff based on some of the key visuals and whatever. It would also make a lot of sense with, at the end of last episode, kind of reintroducing Shinobu to the show and that kind of stuff, so it's not as much of a surprise when she just shows back up again. I would also love to see Kambaru, because I think she's cool, and I'd love to see Senjukahara because I think she's cool as well. Hanakawa, weird one. I don't know what's going on there at all, but yeah, but I'm excited for whatever they throw at me, I guess. We've had a lot of kind of Tsukihi, Nadeko, Yotsugi kind of stuff, like over the last little bit. I'm excited to maybe move up a little bit in age, but again, we will see what they give us ultimately. Yeah, not much else. Patreon, I've already shouted out. Discord, if you wanted to talk to me about the show, you're more than welcome to, of course. Like the video, subscribe, and yeah, let's jump into episode 6.5 of Off and Monster Season of Monogatari. Rightio, I have episode 6.5 of Off and Monster Season up there ready to go. 12 minutes and 30 seconds on this one, so please sync up accordingly with your own copy. It seems like there's going to be no opening, but an ending, so about 10 minutes of content, maybe 11 minutes, something like that. Looking forward to it here, of course. What else do I normally say? Oh yeah, using the MTBB subset as well for those that are interested. So yeah, let's give this thing a 3, 2, 1. Radio, 3, 2, 1, go. Loud. Very loud. Shinobu? Okay, very Monogatari sentiments early. No moral or no happy ending. Okay. Wow. I'm entranced. Okay. Pretty well-to-do girl. Okay, creepy. Very, very pretty then, okay. Thank you, beautiful princess. Interesting. It's giving me Nier vibes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Very storybook. The rule of threes as well. Where'd the music go, chat? Hmm. Hmm. But nobody looks at me? Okay. Bit of lookism. At least a little bit. Kind of seems like first world problems, but sure. Enchanting beauty. Mm-hmm. Okay. Here's the conflict. Well, the conflict already existed. Mm-hmm. Hmm. Some kind of invisible person. Some kind of transparent skin. It seems like a curse, no? Okay, they can kind of see her soul, though. Gotcha. Jesse McCartney? Maybe. What? Okay, alright. This seems like a curse. We doing rule of threes again? End her role in the world. What was in the breakfast? What was that? Okay. Seems a little bit intense. Okay, not rule of threes as well. Seems like everyone's dying, chat. Yeah. With that kind of ice pick thing he's got going on there. Turn it on your own eyes. No wonder why this country no longer exists. Oh, that's a fun reversal too. Oh, cool. What a cruel twist of fate. I wonder how they made this episode. She's already done too. Okay, kind of backfired on the witch, no? Scary. They were swaying. Nobody look at this princess. She seems like trouble. Show me your corpse castle? So she couldn't bring herself to do it? Oh, plot twist. Mm-hmm. We're going on a journey? Hmm. They're talking about Kambaru. Mm-hmm. Oh. Oh. Well, I mean, as soon as you say 600 years ago, it's not really a stretch. Yeah, right. Roughly. Thank you, beautiful princess. ED. Tonal whiplash. ED. Kinda. Yeah, again, it's not exactly a massive surprise to me that that was about Shinobu. Um, Again, at a certain point, you're telling the story for a reason, and it's 600 years ago. It's like, it also matches a lot with a lot of these other Shinobu flashbacky episodes. Reminded me a lot of some of the stuff in Oni Monogatari, which I thought was quite stellar. Remember all those lovely long kind of panning shots across those prints. I thought that was very good. Very similarly, this episode had a pretty unique production style, of course, this kind of pop-up storybooky kind of thing. This is new. I think it is. Yeah, the lyrics. Okay, I might need to read that again. I have a lot to say about this episode. Maybe less the specific scenes, but more about overall stuff. So we'll see. It's a very specific reason that it is the way it is. Peace, peace, indeed. Yeah, let's jump in. And write a little bit in the timeline, maybe? That'd be kind of funny. Yeah, cool, let's try and do that, sure. And we're back, episode 6.5 of Monogatari Off and Monster Season, in the books here, of course. Weird one to talk about, chat. I don't think, again, it's all about implications and connections. It's less about the actual events of the episode. Again, the reinterpretation, once we do discover again that this is actually Shinobu. Shinobu before everything. Before she became a vampire, before the OG aberration killer, the first, all that stuff, before Antarctica, before Japan even. That was already 400 years ago. And then there's another bunch of stuff there before Kizu, before the rest of the events of the show, before Shinobu Male, before everything. This is the very, very start. Well, kind of. It still could go before this, but I don't know why they would. This seems like the very, very original origins of Shinobu. And with that, of course, comes a lot of baggage and connections to stuff that happened after it. There is a ton of stuff I want to talk about, a ton, pertaining to all of the other Shinobu stuff in the rest of the show. I think, again, the most clear connections, I think, are between this and Kizu. I think there's a lot of stuff there. Completely recontextualizing that meeting in the subway between Shinobu and Araragi there, of course. Kind of the flashpoint of the start of the entire series in a lot of ways. Completely recontextualizes that, completely recontextualizes Araragi's decisions at the end of Kizu as well as a lot of the stuff between being alive and dead through Kizu as well, and the kind of difference between being a human and a vampire. It even recontextualizes, again, now we can kind of think about Shinobu and what was happening with her before that point, right? And why she potentially was drawn towards vampirism. Think about it, right? I have this thing where everybody around me continues to die when they see me, see my transparent self, see through into the real me, right? Then, of course, I'm drawn towards immortality, whatever the cost, right? Whatever stops people around me from dying. That seems fucking awesome. They can't kill themselves. They can't even... Again, you run that into the old stuff with the first, right? Again, so disgusted at the fact that she even is a vampire to the point where he wants to... And he becomes a vampire to the point where he kills himself in the sun in Antarctica, right? Like, that must be devastating for Shinobu. It must be. Like, fuck. That's really bad now. Yeah, this one friend that I had, this implied really close connection between those two. And then, of course, poof, he's gone. It's like, well, I made you immortal and you worked your way around that. This curse, it'll never leave me no matter what I do. And then, of course, the Araragi decision at the very end of Kizu. On top of that, right? Where instead of wanting to off himself, he's like, hey, let's make this purposefully as terrible for everybody as possible. Equally terrible for everyone. And again, that's what's ultimately led to this really, really happy relationship forming between Shinobu and Araragi. A lot of that being the intertwining of these souls as well, the intertwining of Shinobu and Araragi, of course, where, again, it's this soul that is so very destructive and all these other things, right? And that then being combined with Araragi and them kind of balancing each other out in a lot of ways. There's a ton of stuff. There's a ton of stuff I want to talk about. I'm even probably still forgetting other portions again, like stupid Kabuki Monogatari and all that kind of stuff, where it's kind of like a Shinobu arc in disguise. That devastation of Shinobu, of course, at the death of Araragi being that impetus for the world ending in a lot of ways, right? And that kind of butterfly effect playing out from the changes that they made with Mayoi in the past. Again, no wonder she went insane. She finally had everything she wanted in Araragi after 600 years of build-up, and then that was taken away in an instant from Black Hanakawa, and then, like, of course she would be devastated. Like, it just makes so much sense now. Again, do you want to give Nisio Sin the credit of planning this the entire time? If it was any other writer, I would say no. I would say that you're backfilling, and that's fine. That still can be powerful. But I'm willing to give Nisio Sin the benefit of the doubt here, and that he had this kind of planned the entire time as a potential backstory. Yeah. Very, very, very cool. Again, let's talk about potential backstory and kind of jump into that episode potentially, maybe even bring up some nice visual elements from previous stuff. I seem to remember Shinobu in an ice castle at a certain point as well, maybe in Tsukihi Monogatari? Not Tsukihi Monogatari. Maybe in Suki Monogatari, somewhere there, because that was very icy in theming. Either way, we'll have a look. Let's start here with the summary of A Cruel Fairy Tale, The Beautiful Princess, of course. And again, it plays out very much like a fairy tale. And again, what we know about Monogatari is that it likes to subvert story convention and that kind of thing. If we take the most simple story possible to start this whole thing and kind of twist it a little bit, that's perfectly in line with what we're doing in the rest of the show, I believe. So, okay, we've got this fairy tale-like setup. There's this beautiful princess that's in this castle. There's beautiful paintings of her in every household in the country. It kind of transcends social barriers there. Rich people, poor people, everybody has a picture of her. They all love her, right? They think that she's the bee's knees. She goes all right, as I write here, which is probably a bit of an understatement. But the princess is now concerned. Nobody's seeing the real me. They're just seeing the outward perception of me, right? What I look like. I'm pretty hot, and people can like that. That's cool. But they're not seeing to who I am inside. So much of Monogatari deals with this very similar theming, I think. What's going on inside versus what's externally perceived. What else is all of Nadeko's stuff, if not that? So that kind of is pretty, thematically consistent, I would say, with a lot of the rest of the stuff. Kind of attaches her and her conflict to a lot of these other characters. Again, I'm oh my god, all these connections. I'm even then thinking about that scene between Nadeko and Shinobu in a Tori Monogatari, where lamenting the fact that she's just cute. That is the worst curse there could be, even scarier than all the aberrations I've ever seen in my life. That was essentially you. You were essentially like a Nadeko back in the day, kind of, if you squint a little bit, right? And wanting to change that, and that turning into some bullshit. That turning into, like, everybody fucking dying. Very similar to Nadeko, right? She wanted to transition away from just being cute, cutting the bangs off and all that other kind of stuff, and it ended up with a lot of people getting hurt, even those close to her, right? She became the villain in doing so. Is that not very similar to this little story here as well? Food for thought, maybe. I think that's a fun little connection to make too. So again, nobody sees her beautiful soul, Jesse McCartney style, of course. She makes a deal with a witch. So this is where she went wrong. This was the boo-boo. In the fairy tales, you shouldn't make the deals with the witches. That's generally pretty bad, right? Well, unless it's Utena, but that's another can of worms. We already did that one. So she becomes transparent. Her skin is like translucent or something. That's kind of the theme there. Kind of a bit of vampire sparkly shit going on maybe there as well. Maybe a bit of a stretch. So hey, everyone can see how beautiful her soul is. And it works. She does have a very beautiful soul. Beauty to the point of everybody else wanting to die because it's so beautiful. So that, again, seems like a little bit of an ironic twist, a little bit of a curse, potentially. Not really the blessing that she thought it was. Specifically, the line here we use for everybody is that people were sacrificing the things that they hold more dear than life itself, even for her, right? That is how much they appreciated her and her beauty and that kind of thing, right? I feel like this bloody, violent turn fits with a lot of Shinobu's backstory and that kind of stuff. Again, it definitely has that Kizu vibe to it, I would say. Specifically here we mentioned that the witch also dies. She cut off her head, her brain, the thing that she held most dear, the thing that let her do the magic. So there was no way that we could, like, reverse it. This effect spread to, like, everyone. It spread even some countries, like, across everywhere. Everyone wanted to die for the princess's sake. Again, leaving her all alone. And what is one thing we know about Shinobu? She doesn't like being fucking alone. She likes to play like she does and be all tsundere about it, but No. So again, the fact that she was going to be left alone and nobody could ever see her again was that curse, and that curse that she wanted eventually lifted. But even now, she was cursed with immortality, which is interesting as well. She couldn't even kill herself to end the curse, right? She had to just continue to live. So she shed those tears. The tears then caused a miracle to happen by which the witch came back alive, just briefly, and told her to journey solo. That's essentially what she says, right? Let's get this line here, actually. Says that the princess must journey in solitude until one day when she may be able to save those who die for your beautiful soul that is beyond enchanting. We specifically link this into Araragi later on, I believe, right? Save those who die. You literally saved Araragi's life, right? By turning him into a vampiric thrall, of course. You even save his life again when he turns all on fire in Kizu as well, so maybe we can link that in there too. Again, starting this symbiosis between Shinobu and Araragi, which characterizes a lot of the show. Again, of course, I've talked about the first here already as well. She tried to do this once already in the past. He kind of burnt up in the sunlight, even maybe, again, recontextualizing that scene from Kizu, where Araragi is burning up by saving him and that kind of thing. And again, of course, the reveal at the end of the episode that it is, in fact, Shinobu. Not exactly a hard leap to make, I would say. Again, it's like, why are we telling this story? Why is it 600 years ago? There's only one character that's that fucking old, and that's Shinobu. So, again, cool. Let's go back into the episode. Again, there's just like a ton of stuff I wanted to like re-bring up again. Maybe I'll do it in post, where I put a bunch of images on screen kind of backing up what I was saying. Maybe that's the best way to do this without me going back through and digging through a bunch of old episodes right now. I think that'll be a little bit tedious. Maybe I just put the disparate visual elements up when I want to, or do a little bit in post. I don't know. I've made a lot of the connections already. I think this fits fucking perfectly. It fits so well. Even specifically linking it into the darkness as well, if you wanted to be like super specific about it as well. The darkness is still nebulous to me. I think I never really got it, if I'm going to be completely honest. So the kind of dark ball of goo, it's not even goo, like energy that's following Araragi and kills everybody. You know the one I'm talking about. Yeah, that one's a weird one. I was also reminded of the stuff with the first, where he became like dust and then floated to Japan. Monogatari is some shit, man. But what do you mean that he became dust and then revived fucking 2 trillion years after the fact because of the shrine? Monogatari is some fucking bullshit. That's fucking crazy. Alright, anyway, let's get this episode up, sure. And again, as I already... Oh, I should get the right view up. There we go. As I already kind of prefaced, I believe this segment's not going to be very long, where I'm actually going back through the episode. Again, it's all about the connections we make to other stuff, right? And again, I'm probably... Depending on what episode 7 is, of course, I'm probably going to be like, okay, where else does this connect? Because this seems like it connects a lot of places. I already just spoke about like 5 or 6 of them. Kizu, the first, certain scenes from Tsuki Monogatari and Otori Monogatari, and a bunch of other stuff, right? Like, there's a ton of spots where it links. Again, go nuts. Even the stuff in the past, the Kabuki Monogatari stuff, it connects everywhere. So... if you guys got more of those connections, please let me know. I'm probably going to ask the Discord and that kind of thing. I'm interested in that kind of stuff. I think it's fucking cool. I think here, unfortunately, I will have to get a little bit negative at points because I don't love the production of the episode. I think, again, it is purposefully like pop-up storybooky in a way that I think fits thematically and kind of subverting this idea of the fairy tale and the fairy tale happy ending and that kind of stuff. Again, stuff we've talked about in Monogatari a lot. This story doesn't have an ending. It continues to go and go and go. There is life after death even in the show a lot, so death isn't even the end. And this just proves that thesis correctly. It is this fairy tale that continues after the fact, even 600 years down the line. The part where I think it kind of falls apart a little bit is production-wise. I just think it's a little bit stilted, a little bit slow, and I don't know why we're dropping music so often in it. So if music played the entire time, then yeah, good. I would like the episode a lot more. I think it really becomes a little bit weird when there's no music playing. Ultimately, however, I think the story is short enough to the point where this kind of stuff doesn't really matter. It doesn't really drag all that much. The story I'm about to tell you really happened, but I'd like you to listen as if it were fiction, because it happened too far in the past to sound realistic. And a story like this, with no moral or happy ending, is better off left as a lie, that it never actually happened. So yes, this actually did happen. This is true history, but kind of remembered in this storybook format, right? And again, subverting fairy tale, there is no moral or happy ending, like there is with many fairy tales, right? Even the tragic ones have a moral, they have a reason for existing, they have something that you're meant to take away from the story. This one has nothing of the sort, because there's no ending yet. We get the rest of the ending in the rest of the show. The presentation of this calls into question a couple of things as well. Monogatari as a show has been something that considers audience quite a bit as part of the narrative and breaks the fourth wall and all sorts of stuff, right? So it begs the question, who is telling the story, who would know to tell the story, and who is the narrator? A bunch of questions here. Maybe I should look up the voice actress for the narrator. I think maybe that would be wise. No, I can't find a voice actress there. I don't know if it's going to become relevant at all, so maybe just leave it. But okay, let's continue here. Sure. I've kind of talked about the structure and that kind of stuff already. I do wonder if some of the Utena stuff is a direct reference here, or maybe the kind of references for Utena as well. There was a specific artist that I'll look up probably based on my Utena stuff, where they're basing a lot of the visual style off this silhouette-y kind of fairy tale-esque designs and that kind of thing. I just see a lot of similarities here between this and a lot of stuff in Utena. Again, drawing from similar areas for the ultimate subversion of fairy tale tropes is kind of clever. Yeah, cool. Obviously, again, here Utena is brilliant and influential and that kind of thing. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the direct inspiration. I do want to know how they animated this. Specifically seems like a lot of CGI, because Monogatari has been known for its physical elements in the animation. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if elements of this are literally cardboard that has been cut out and that kind of thing to make these kind of 3D effects. But also the camera movement is specifically CG, I think. So I'm just wondering about the combination there in the production. Again, it's not my particular area of expertise, but again, helps to give the episode its visual identity. Yeah, a lot of this movement, right? A lot of this movement looks video gamey, right? So that's where I'm thinking a little bit more of this kind of the CG style instead of the physical elements. Either way, I've kind of explained a lot of the story already. Beautiful princess, everyone loves her. They call her beautiful princess. She's kind of the leader of the nation, or faux leader of the nation, because of her beauty. They even pile up these presents by her kind of doorstep. Hey, lots and lots of gifts, you look so beautiful, that kind of thing, right? I like how these piles of gifts here get subverted later on for different piles. As I talked about already, the lack of music and kind of repetitive nature of these particular portions give the episode its probably weakest values, I would say. Demonstrates kind of some reasons why it could be a little bit better, probably. You could squint and say, okay, so when we're doing the traditional fairy tale thing, we do a very traditional rule of threes when establishing kind of these different people, and they're giving their different talents for the princess's benefit and that kind of thing, right? There's the violin guy, there's this artist guy, there was a poet guy, all these different forms of fucking art, right? That all these guys are doing for her. 3 of them specifically. That is when we're doing the traditional fairy tale. That expands out to become more than 3 later on when we start to subvert a little bit, when we break away from the rule of threes. So you could squint and say that that's something there. I do specifically like this line, nobody looks at me. Instead of, so they're all looking at her right now. They're looking at her beauty, but they're not seeing through that. They're not seeing the real me, right? And again, like normal happy ending kind of fairy tale like story will be the opposite of this, right? It's when somebody sees into the true you, sees your pure soul, that's the moment where it's saved, right? Instead of that being the impetus for the bad stuff happening, right? Does that make any sense? Like, normally it would be, okay, I've lost my beautiful, charming, good looks, and through the course of something else, I need to show that my soul is truly pure and that kind of stuff, right? And that being the trigger to defeat the enemy, that being the trigger to defeat the witch, and we progress from there, and it's all hunky-dory, right? We win. We do the exact opposite here. When they see the real her, that's when the destruction really begins. If anything, if we're kept in this kind of lulled state of just everything being kind of okay because they're just seeing an outward perception of me instead of the real me, That should have been the thing that maintained based on the events of this little narrative. Yeah, cool. So that's kind of what we're doing there, subverting Fairytale and that kind of thing. Because again, we all want to be perceived as pure of heart. If they saw the real me, the me that I know in my own kind of soul, in my conscience, right? Then they would like me. Of course they would. That has to be the case. They must not like me currently because of something else, because of some element of outward appearance. You could almost argue that it's the princess and her avarice getting her into this particular situation, her greed, wanting people to love her even more. Is that not greedy? Is the narrative punishing her for that? Again, the tragedy here, they saw the real her, they've seen who she is up close, and then they all perished because of it. And again, I've talked about it. Araragi linking into that. The first linking into that. It's all very brilliant. As I've explained, here's where we get into trouble. We see the witch. She kind of hears this plea from the princess that she wants to be seen for the real her and grants that wish. This is probably one of the better shots here, combined with the music. Kind of this almost Swan Lake type piece, which I really like, as we kind of zoom in off of this bridge into the kind of witch and the princess meeting. I just think it looks very effective paired with the music. It's very good. I do like this as well. So we have this silhouette-y style for a lot of what we have going on, and we specifically make her not silhouetted anymore. She's transparent. She kind of has this blur effect on the background behind her in a lot of spots. So I like that visually kind of demonstrating her difference. So we've gone from the silhouette style to this now. I think another fascinating reinterpretation here could be an unreliable narrator. So the thing we describe here is that everybody saw the princess's soul, and the soul proved even more beautiful to the point where people sacrificed themselves because the soul was that beautiful and that kind of thing. Who's to say that the soul wasn't actually beautiful at all? That it was only beautiful to her, and it was actually deeply destructive to everybody else. And that's why they did the things that they did. And them saying that they loved her so much that they killed themselves is a little fib. They actually hated it so much that it made them want to die. That could be a factor as well, this kind of element of unreliable narration. It would kind of speak to this vampirism angle as well, and this kind of people seeing that kind of aberration, that kind of demonic creature, and wanting to eliminate it and wanting to die and all these other things as well. Again, maybe a stretch there, but I think that's a fun interpretation as well. Who is telling the story here? Who is the intended audience? Again, we get a little bit repetitive here again, but I think with purpose. I've already kind of discussed here the kind of prevalence of the rule of threes and the lack of rule of threes in this segment. So we go father, mother, then the three artists. So, and then it spreads out to everybody, right? That's a little bit different than how it normally would be done in this portion in the story, I would say. Either way, Dad offs himself because he's embarrassed that he didn't recognize her beauty earlier. Nice use of reds here and the prominence of the reds as we continue, even the whites of the reds, giving very Kizumonogatari vibes, as well as the blood that becomes very key to Shinobu and her character as well, of course being heart under blade, the iron-blooded, hot-blooded, cold-blooded, or whatever the hell. Of course, again, as I've talked about, going from that kind of blue to that red, as the mother then offs herself. I think she poisons herself is the implication. I will say that this kind of too beautiful to even live has that great opposite Monogatari stuff in it, if you know what I mean, where it's like, you know, being real and being a fake and all these other things we've discussed before, kind of the opposite, doing the opposite reaction, if that makes any sense. So she's so beautiful that I want to die, instead of being so ugly and monstrous that I want to die, right? What is inherently more valuable there between the two, right? The fake that wants to be real, the real that wants to be fake, and all these other stuff, right? The good, the bad, all the stuff. That kind of links in very well. I think it fits with the ethos of Monogatari, I would say. Again, all sorts of fun, ironic twists here. The musician cutting off his wrists, specifically, so he couldn't play music anymore. The poet cutting at his tongue, so he couldn't say the poetry anymore. And the artist gouging out his eyes with said ice pick. Yeah, again, these fun, ironic twists. Again, very Monogatari. Into the future, you can almost apply these same principles to the first, right? He became what he didn't want to become and ended up offing himself in the process, right? On some level, he was given the gift of eternal life, but on another level, that disgusted him to a point where he wanted to end that life immediately, right? Is that not dissimilar to these guys? I think it is, at least a little bit, right? I'm trying to attach Araragi in there. Maybe he has this love of life, right? And hatred of death and all sorts of stuff there. that maybe he's playing into a lot of the stuff in Kizu. Again, Kizu was a very long time ago that I saw it, so maybe there's some more definite connections there. If I was to rewatch. But again, we'll leave the heavy lifting to you guys, of course. More of this kind of fiery red motif as they burn these portraits, right? They go from this color scheme specifically kind of transitioning to the red. Again, associating Shinobu with that color very much so. I mentioned in the moment this feels very near, and I tend to agree with myself. Again, I feel like the Nier series is characterized by huge time gaps and tragedies befalling people in the past, especially this kind of music box type music, and then even subversion of story and all sorts of stuff. You guys should play both Nier games if you're interested in this kind of aesthetic, I would say. This kind of aesthetic of story. Or even more Nier games. I know there's the mobile stuff. Don't at me, I haven't played them. Even her hair somewhat here taking on the form of said fire as well. This kind of fiery beauty type tone to it. This is when she starts expressing the regrets at the mountains of corpses that have appeared based on her beauty. Again, specifically based on the art style here as well, she has separated herself much from everybody else, right? So in these paintings back here, right, when they're on the walls, she is the silhouetted version, everyone here is the silhouetted version, and she's the only one that's different now. In kind of going to the witch and doing this spell, she's kind of othered herself from everybody else. So maybe that's an element of it as well. She's almost ascended in a way, achieved godhood, all sorts of fun stuff. We play with Shinobu as a god during the Japan portion of her past as well, right? I think. The stuff with the first, I think they're praising her as a god. As I've already explained, the witch can't even reverse it because she offed herself as well. She took off her head, the place where all her knowledge was kept. Oh, so even here, she starts crying in front of the witch, but her tears are so enchanting that it even exacerbates the issue. Yeah, sick. Okay, cool. Even more people scrambled to offer their lives. It even made things worse if she was sad about it, right? If she showed her true emotions. At this point, it's even spreading from the boundaries of the country established, right? More and more people are hearing about this. People show up. People die. That kind of stuff, right? Enough is enough. Everybody's going to die. I can't even save one person. But au contraire, you can. But if I speak, but if I act, everyone will continue to die. She's kind of trapped in this stasis of inactivity. She can't try to do anything because when she tries to do stuff, it kind of involves other people. And when those other people see me, they die. It seems like she's really between a rock and a hard place here. And again, this element of the curse of immortality. This even talks to, you know that scene in Nisei where they're in the bathtub and they're talking about immortality? And she's talking about it as somewhat of a curse, but at least she's happy with the fact that Araragi will be there in immortality with her, that she won't be alone after he dies. Yeah, a lot of this stuff is even predicated here too. So she's cursed with immortality at this moment. She could not die. She can't kill herself. All these other things, right? And she's all alone. Again, eternity doesn't seem that bad, at least when you have somebody else to bounce ideas off of. Again, we tie that explicitly into the first as well. She tried to do that in the past, and she failed. I do like this miracle element to the story as well. It's kind of 11th hour and very surprising, but at least it shows that miracles can happen. We're not ever placed specifically in a forever hopeless situation. There is always salvation on some level. Again, it's nice. Again, I've already kind of gone through this. Old lady comes back to life and tells her to go on a journey. Someday you may be able to save people. Until then, you must distance yourself from others. We don't really have a timeline there, and kind of talks to this like... So she's been looking forward to something like this for 600 years when Kizu happens. You know what I mean? And she's already attempted it in the past with the first. Again, all this extra weight put on that one first meeting in the show, which I really do enjoy. It is 600 years of prophecy leading up to that meeting in Kizu, which is great. So again, leaving behind the castle, leaving behind all these other things and these mountains of corpses, she then goes on a journey, a journey in solitude, solitary. There you go, solitary journey, where she doesn't even really have a direction. She's just kind of wandering. I do like the really like low-end piano that drops in when it's revealed that it is Shinobu. It would be a while yet before she turned into a vampire. And then, of course, you link that very specifically into a big, long, stupid name there as well. Hey, it's Shinobu. That's how we're connecting this to the rest of the show. Great, good stuff. So this was the start of Shinobu, and her innocent soul finally for the first time saved a tiny life offered to her. In an incident roughly 600 years later... Yeah, it's Kizu, right? Yeah, so, again, getting my facts straight with Kizu, Araragi happens upon Shinobu almost dead. She's left in a bad way at the fucking train station, at the subway. So he like rolls down and sacrifices his life to save the girl right in front of him. Then of course this turns back when he kind of goes into the fire later on, after he becomes that vampiric thrall and kind of sets on fire, sets alight, and then she saves him, and they kind of save each other a lot of times through that point, right? She can actually save the people in front of her now. They can save each other, you know? And yeah, with that, we have the conclusion there, a cruel fairy tale, The Beautiful Princess. Now, I did have some queries about the ED as well, but I am also cognizant of the fact that this ED and its lyrical style is probably going to stay for the next segment. So hey, how about we leave that for the next segment and actually do it with its proper visual element? Because though these bats are cool and that kind of thing, I would imagine that we have a little bit more of a actual visual style for the ED upcoming, I would say. So yeah, let's jump into that. That was fascinating, and again, I think the value in it comes from the connection to the things that have happened previous. That is my opinion on it, I would say. So yeah, let's bring up episode 7 now. In retrospect, that little 12-minute section, that is enough for one episode. That is, you can connect that to fucking everything. If you really, really want to, you really can. Cool. Very, very broad. Now let's get into the actual meat a little bit more. Let's go into episode 7, shall we? Let's do that. Cool. Episode 7 of Off and Monster Season up there ready to go, of course. 23 minutes and 35 seconds on this one, so sync up accordingly with your own copy. I'm using the MTBB version, of course, as well as there will be a picture-in-picture version in the description below if you wanted to use that. Yeah, interested to see where we go from here, I guess. And gonna give it a 3, 2, 1 accordingly. Rightio? 3, 2, 1, go. Honed story. Of course. Yeah, very Kizu. Ace Roller Bon Appetit? Is that the name of the arc? Okay. Stage production? Puppet. Okay, so you gave yourself that stupid name? The name's cool. No opening, huh? Yeah. Oh, almost like seeing yourself as a puppet? Who is talking? Lust? Hey, yo. Yeah, it is a little bit wordy. Where the fuck are we? Question mark? Very vampiric. I am recording. Yeah, shit happens, eh? Mm-hmm. I'm seeing double here? Tastes hella good. Yeah. Shinobu ate the first, remember that. Remember that. I remember that. Huh. Okay, my brain is fucking fried. What is happening? I don't think you're gonna be very successful. That looked fucking awesome, by the way. So does that. Holy shit. I'm the Suicide Master? The castle's pretty cool, though. The Roman numeral numbers there is very cool, too. Again, these are the different chapters, of course. Who the fuck is this? Bless you? What was that? What was his name? Hot Dog or something? Alright, this guy's a freak. I've run out of humans to eat. Yeah. Ooh. Everyone killed themselves. I think that's what we're getting at. Ooh. I have. Me, pick me, I have. Okay, so that's our connection there. Ooh, very pretty. That's sick too. Love the colors. And yeah, again, very similar there too. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah, the timeline this episode's kind of fascinating too. Silhouetting again. I just think she's bad news. I'm built different. I'm not gonna fall for that shit. Oh, sounds like work. I don't want to do that. Also, how big is this place? Look at this fucking hall. I prefer to eat life. Mmm, gourmet. Beautiful princess on the menu. Okay. The princess wouldn't mind if you could actually just, like, kill her. But I don't think you can. Okay. I'm also using you as a stepping stone, you little freak. Characters that are literally you. That's me. What would you rather? I thought that the princess was the suicide master. Again, I reiterate, bless you? Deathtopia is your name? The suicide master? Hey, yo. So now, of course, the way I understand this is now the princess is going to be Shinobu, and this is the person that gives her vampirism. That is how I understand what's going on. But again, I could be completely wrong and I could have misread last episode. That is why I was so confused at the starting portions. This episode is fucking beautiful, by the way. It's fucking gorgeous. The black bars too. Also, the general setting, the aesthetic is just so good. I mean, she looks alright. uh, you made the suicide master commit suicide? Oh, okay, we're doing the fun opposite day shit. Oh, it's almost like she herself is a mirror. Think about it. Oh, don't caca me. Bakemono. Mm. I have some donuts that are just about done. She's very polite. Fantastic. I have a name. Derogatory. Acerola. Huh. I guess you only ended up being a princess based on your beauty, right? That's what I got from the story. Yeah, very sparkly. Is that another death? Saw a little cleavage and wanted to kill themselves. Yeah. Oh, the apple is the heart. Blood apple. I love eating my own heart. Seems like a curse, no? Because again, you're still on that journey, right? The one that she's able to save. Who the fuck did these backgrounds? They look so good. They look so good it makes me angry. Don't care, didn't ask, plus you're a vampire. I literally can't. I tried. Okay. Hmm. Okay. Explain. Vampires are immortal. Remember the first? He became some dust, and then he still came back. Maybe this character will come back too. Don't know. I guess. Ooh, bit of magic. Okay, seems like it's ultimately fraught. Yeah, they are kind of perfect for each other, right? Okay, let's try to break this curse. Oh. Yep, and then... Damn, I'm hella gonna die again. Yeah. Each chapter seems like it's a death almost now as well. Held hands for 1 second. I want to die of joy. Demonic. Yeah, take it to Corpse Castle. Great holiday destination. It looks so cool. That's some Mordor type shit. Yeah. I don't even know if she's a human anymore. You're literally annoying. Just do what I say. Yeah, fuck with her if you want to die. You'll turn into fucking billiard balls. I love his voice. Yeah, a bit of magic. Break that curse. What was that sound effect on the blink? End of episode? End of episode. Now, maybe this is the ED we're actually rocking with. Interesting. That was fantastic, obviously. It was very, very good. On a production level, it's like, what the fuck? How are you even allowed to do that in a TV anime format? Like, looks amazing. Looks incredible. On a storytelling level, it's so very interesting. There's just a lot of different ways you can take it. I was very confused early because I was like, was I wrong about the whole Shinobu thing? No, that's Shinobu. I was also thinking about something else specifically as well. There was that part in Kizu as well where we call her Shinobu, right? Where we actually name her. Or is that in Bake? Either way, we name Shinobu Shinobu. And that changes her somewhat, and kind of that value in a name of making her like cutesy and maintaining that cutesy form. Again, attaching this into so much emphasis on names this episode as well, and titles and that kind of thing, right? It seems like upon getting that title of Heart Under Blade and all that stuff, it kind of, along with the vampirism, presumably, it kind of makes Shinobu into the Shinobu we know now, and away from this very polite princess-type character. Again, so much of that impacting perception and stuff like that. Very cool. Yeah, analysis on that episode upcoming. I may go, like, eat something briefly, though, so I'll come back. And we're back, and I have been informed of something very important that I've missed. Turns out that I pushed a lot of Zoku Owari Monogatari out of my mind. I don't know why. But hey, there was this scene, which very, very, very explicitly ties to what we're doing right now. So, we're in the Mirror Bizarro world, remember? You know, Zoku Owari, that kind of vibe, right? The mirror version of Shinobu is a human with this aura around her that makes people want to kill themselves, right? Specifically Araragi here. I don't need to put the pieces together for you. I'm sure you can put the pieces together. I'm seeing the mirroring based on timeline. If this is Shinobu at her latest point when she's not in the mirror world, then let's go to her at her earliest point. That would be this. Even again, maybe that vampirism being that opposite point as well, kind of upon becoming that vampire, kind of transitioning away from something. This is her life as opposed to her death or undeath on the other side. That's what's mirroring there in Zoku Owari. So this is clearly something that I missed. This is very, very explicitly tying to everything we're doing here. This whole meeting and the castle that she's in, this kind of princessly demeanor that she has as well, the very formal way in which she speaks, it just all matches perfectly. I don't know why I didn't recognize it initially. It's a very long show. Again, I'm sure there's lots of other stuff that I've missed as well along the way that is connecting to this. Very, very cool. I've also been alerted that I believe the 2 episodes that I've just watched were directed by Shinbo himself. So yeah, that explains why episode 7 in particular looks fucking incredible. It looks amazing. It's so good. To my knowledge there, it doesn't seem like ANN's been updated with that detail, but I don't know, Discord told me they're normally right about that kind of stuff, so sure. Now I'll jump on over to my Google Doc, which is here. I've placed this immediately after the Fairytale. We've gone down here. It seems like the arc is called Acerola Bon Appetit, so sure. Seems to match with what's going on. A lot of thematic stuff around the difference between killing somebody and feeding off of them and the different nuances there. I'm sure we'll get more and more into that as we continue, of course. It was a weird one for me because I was like, okay, who's who? Because there's this vampire character with blonde hair that kind of looks like Shinobu, and then I'm like, was I wrong about the princess? No, the princess is still Shinobu. The princess is called Acerola. That is your biggest indicator, right? Cool. This is going to be the way that she becomes a vampire. That is my read on it. Again, in the searching for a way to make herself unimmortal and a way to kill herself, she achieves undeath. There's some kind of meaning in that probably as well, eventually too. We meet a new character. This character is called Deathtopia Suicide Master or something to that effect. It's frankly ridiculous. The little fucking servant guy, his name was like Hot Dog or something. It was equally ridiculous. I just love it. I love the stupid vampire names in the show. It's so fucking cool. But again, I think on a certain level, the plan and the events of this episode in itself are quite simple. I think a lot of the... Again, in comparison to kind of Nadeko Draw that we've just come out of, right? I feel like this is a little bit more straightforward in that regard in the story department. Listen, I summarized that episode in 3 points. So that's not really what I've been doing for the Nadeko episodes as much. So, again, I think again, a lot of the interest in this episode for me personally is how different it feels based on aesthetic decisions. And those aesthetic decisions being objectively beautiful. This is the best Monogatari has looked, I think, outside of Kizu, and then even then Kizu's kind of controversial. Kizu looks insanely good, by the way. I don't know why people think that, but I digress. This shit looks fucked. I don't know how they did this in a TV anime format. No wonder this thing has fucking delays. What? Monogatari was already a good-looking show. this is taking it to the next level. I think some of these backgrounds are some of the best I've seen. Like total. Like it just it boggles the mind at how cool it fucking is. And all these like fun paintings and all this kind of, it's just so good. So good. Either way, I was summarizing the story. Let's do that. So Deathtopia, we start with her and it's like her like monologue, and then we kind of skip ahead, and then it's another attempt on Acerola's life, the princess, and that ends in disaster. As it turns out, at that point we then jump back to the very start, where Deathtopia is this vampire lord that's run out of food. The first death that she runs into here is out of starvation. All the people are gone, the things that she would normally feed off of, right? This here directly links into the previous fairy tale. Of course, it's the presence of the beautiful princess that is causing all of this to occur, all the people to be gone. It's almost ecosystem-y, right? You've taken away the food source of an apex predator, and of course it's going to struggle and die as a result. But hey, it doesn't die, it continues to be reborn, because it's a vampire, right? Thus, Deathtopia goes to meet with Acerola, kind of with this plan to eat her, right? Because, okay, I'm this vampire lord, there's a lot of ego with that comes with that. If Shinobu, as an example, is a really good example of that, as a character with a lot of ego. It'd be very fun to see how this kind of personality manifests between the two as well. That'll be interesting. Because again, I'm seeing a lot of Shinobu's personality in this Deathtopia person. So where's that transition point, if that makes any sense, right? Either way, I want to eat her as a symbol of status. I'm not going to be little broed by some princess that rolls through and takes my territory. So I'm going to go take her out. But then sees her, and she's all sparkly and beautiful and stuff, try to feed off of her and so forth, and end up killing myself in the process. I thought I was the suicide master, but I keep killing myself in her presence. It turns out whatever this curse is, it's pretty fucking legit. Either way, it seems like Acerola and Deathtopia share a common goal. They both want Acerola dead. So, hey, why not employ the services of the Suicide Master in attempting to die? I have some kind of occult knowledge. Maybe I can reverse this curse. You can finally end your own life and finish this curse and all that kind of stuff. And I get to feed on you. Sounds like a plan, and that's where we leave off the episode, essentially. We're trying to put together a plan to reverse this curse, to kill her once and for all, and then feed off of her and continue on my merry vampire ways. Of course, this is a flashback. We know that doesn't happen. We know that there's probably going to be an attempt on Acerola's life in the form of trying to convert her into a vampire, and then that's going to backfire and so forth. Events will occur. That's probably what we're seeing next episode, of course. So yeah, let's get into this episode and me talk about, gush about how pretty it is for a bunch of time. Let's do that, sure. So this shit here, I want to check a couple of things first. Starting, what is Honed Story? Is that the name of the arc overall, I guess? Honed Story? That's your Gatari element? I would like to see that properly translated, I guess, or not translated, the opposite. I want to know what to call this with the Gatari, because I don't call them, Sword Story and all that kind of stuff, even though Sword Story was Katanagatari. I call them something else, so if somebody could tell me what this thing is called, that would be great as well. I also wanted to check the letterboxing. I wanted to see what's going on there. Yeah, look at this. Compared to, again, random episode of Nadeko Draw, the letterboxing is way different. So let's transition back here to the other episode. Yeah, it's almost got Kizu Monogatari letterboxing. Interesting. I actually really like that as a stylistic choice. It feels like I'm watching a vampire movie as I'm watching the show. It's really cool. And again, a great differentiating point as well to the different times in history and that kind of thing. I seem to remember a lot of the flashback. Again, the flashback with all the in Oni Monogatari, right? About the first, all that kind of stuff is very different production-wise as well. I like how this kind of delineates time period. There's the arc name, of course, Acerola Bon Appetit. And this threw me for a loop to start, right? So we've got, for our chapters on screen, we've got Roman numeral numbers, kind of, again, fitting the time period and aesthetic. I just think that's very, very clever. Along with, again, we've got a real tangible element for it here with the curtains opening right on that first note. Now, I'm so bad with voices here. I don't know if Deathtopia is the person that's kind of monologuing this, or Acerola herself. I came up with the name personally of Kishot Acerola Orion Heart Under Blade. Appropriately ridiculous, of course. Not to brag, but I think it's a cool name. But to be honest, I feel the slightest of regrets. Yeah, perhaps I should not have given her a name. Yeah, now this is Deathtopia speaking. Right, gotcha. So we're doing a lot of this with like mannequins and puppets as imagery, right? And also putting on a stage play. So again, we've talked about Monogatari and kind of stage and the stage itself and all this kind of stuff, right? I was the one that propped her up. I was the one that was like pulling her strings and put her into the position that I did, right? But I have the slightest regret about it. I didn't think it would end the way it did when I started doing it, right? Perhaps I should not have given her a name. Again, this is attaching itself to that same kind of stuff I was talking about with Oshino Meme and the Shinobu name, right? Giving her that name gave her a certain pizzazz, a certain power, right? A certain personality, potentially, that she dragged through the rest of the show, or the rest of her past up until she met Araragi and changed that name, right? Specifically here, we're lamenting the fact that you become attached to a pet once you give it a name, right? Maybe ultimately you'll end up sacrificing yourself or something to that effect instead of killing her. And again, that'll add into the thematic stuff for Acerola as well. Specifically here, we shout out that affection, that kind of attachment to her, could have been friendship, affection, or lust. Now, if you know anything about me and the stuff I pick for the channel, I'm not against like two vampires, you know. So that's cool. Again, shout outs. My decision that I made, it was not out of a desire to feed. I know that. So it wasn't the reason why I gave her the name and the events that happened in the end of the arc happened, it wasn't based on my desire to feed. It wasn't based on my initial goal as presented in this episode, right? Something changed. Yeah, the strings become unattached here. The strings separate from the stage and this elaborate background and that kind of thing, right? You see them there. That name in itself doesn't work as the name of a meal. It's a little bit more important than that. And because it wasn't the name of a meal, that's the reason why she ended up being the way she was, I guess. So how the fuck do you even draw something this good, is my question, right? Like, holy fuck. Interestingly enough, we then transition to, it seems like a bit of a time skip, right? Because we're at the fucking Death Castle, or whatever it was called. It had some other fucking Corpse Castle, something like that. Some ridiculous name. Again, in matching with all the other ridiculous names in this segment of the story. That indicates to me that we're already progressed past the events of the end of the episode, right? This seems like we're already trying to reverse the spell, and that's what's happening. In trying to do so, you lost your head, but then you revived your own head, and then you're going to eat your own head. In an interesting turn of events, it was a very dark night before you showed up and you produced the light. Again, I'm seeing this ties explicitly between this version, Acerola, the beautiful princess, and the light itself, as we can see here in Koyomi Reverse. Very, very bright here as well. So again, bringing the light versus Shinobu's darkness, or Deathtopia's darkness, I guess I should say. That's definitely something I would say too. Again, lighting is so good here. Like, just that little... Look how bright she seems compared to everybody else, right? Even though you're the one that's lit by the candles. Oh, this is very cool as well. Okay, so it's a very kind of frank, matter-of-fact conversation. I've been meaning to ask, does it even taste good? Well, it doesn't matter if it tastes good or not. What matters is that I live up to my code, right? I eat the lives that I end, thus I'm eating my own head because I ended my own life, right? And I'm going to continue to do that for the foreseeable future, so blah, 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 blah. You should probably stop. I'm never going to die. I've seen this caper before. And again, kind of giving the advice here, I'm saying you should just like give up on trying to kill me. It's a bad idea. I'm unkillable. You're just going to end up hurting yourself. Even benevolent in this time, almost, right? Wanting to stop you from trying to kill yourself, right? But again, your personified ego. You're this vampire lord person that's never had no one their entire life. Of course I'm going to continue to try to eat you, right? Something like that is absolutely impossible. Now, again, am I stupid? Did Shinobu always have different colored eyes? The heterochromia thing going on? Very much no, she did not. She had yellow eyes. Odd, I don't know what the eye color is doing then. Have I said that this episode's fucking beautiful? Again, fucking behave, VLC. I want to fucking gush about how pretty it looks. Holy fuck. Somebody just drew this for it to be on screen for like half a second. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? Again, I said it before, no wonder this thing is getting fucking delayed. This is absolutely unsustainable. But I love it. It's fucking crazy. This almost erupts into an argument here between the two, right? Don't blame me for your recent spat of deaths, right? If you had not tried to kill me, then you would not have died once. Of course, again, attacking this ego of you. You're just thinking it's a fact of life that this happens to me, right? I'm trying to think again. The impetus for all of this is a witch's curse. Almost like the entire show of Monogatari occurring, right? And I'm just thinking how like a witch's curse applies to like some of the rest of the stuff of the show. Could you call like the specialists and what they do, is that witchcraft almost as well? So it's kind of talking to this grand conflict between aberrations and specialists and that kind of stuff as well? Or is that kind of going a little bit too far with it, maybe? It gets to a point here where it's like, fuck it, try and eat up on me again, try to destroy me, see how you go. And again, I love this production detail here, the kind of vampire shit coming through, this grand force of nature in the room with her. This jump here, transitioning into this all red, yeah. Specifically that, again, Kiss of Monogatari red coming through with the reds and the blacks. But again, this ultimately leading to her destruction, right? So jumping in here, biting, and then we see the kind of page here, Suicide Master getting ripped apart. We had Acerola on screen there for but a moment. Hey, this is very similar to Koyomi Monogatari when Araragi dies, right? When he gets chopped up by the sword. It's kind of a very similar effect of like the ripping of the page. And again, it seems I have met my death for a 5th time. Maybe we even count these deaths through this episode as well, because we have one from starvation, and then it seems to me that there's 3 other ones through the rest of the portion of the episode as well. Maybe I'll count them as we continue here. From here, we flash back in time to the very start, kind of the meeting between the princess and Deathtopia here. I've kind of already explained it's based on the whole starvation thing. Deathtopia quickly discerns that she died of starvation, which is odd. How are you going to explain this, my good vampire friend, whose name is Tropical-esque Home Avave Dog Strings? What? Why? Okay, here's one thing I'm seeing. Dog, pet. You are beneath me. I step on you. I use you as a platform for jumping and so forth. Like, the kind of difference in the treatment of the different thralls between the different vampires in the show, kind of Deathtopia being happy with this purely master-servant relationship between the two, even lower, pets and that kind of thing, where again, Shinobu is seeking an equal. Shinobu is seeking somebody to be a lifelong partner with her, as opposed to this kind of dynamic. So that's kind of something to look for. And again, the naming of dog here as opposed to an actual human name. I don't know how else to describe the background here, except Kiss Monogatari. That is the ultimate vibe that it's giving me. But again, it's so different for the show, right? Which is firmly placed in a modern time period. Seeing this kind of architecture and stuff is just fascinating, along with these kind of design sensibilities, and again the grand kind of contrast between the reds and the blacks as well in the background, the light and the dark there. Just so much good stuff. As explained already, we're linking the lack of humans here to the whole beautiful princess story before. They've all committed suicide, thus there's no food for me to eat off of, thus this makes it a bit of a problem for me if I want to feed on humans to survive. Something like a plague did my food storage spoil. We're just in the void. Look at the background. I love it. Oh my god, I can't stop glazing it. It's just going to be this on repeat. How fucking good does all this stuff look? We don't have shows that just draw random fucking beautiful castle oil background bullshit for like anything, right? We just don't get stuff like this, like, ever. This should be in like a gallery, right? It looks gorgeous. And again, very befitting of time period and location as well. Definitely has this kind of medieval, almost Renaissance-y kind of quality to all of it as well. Definitely befitting of the whole European thing too. The arc being called Bon Appetit as well, maybe directly relating this to France, somewhere in France. Definitely seeing that in a lot of the art here, a lot of the character designs. Even clothing as well. The contrast between that one I had up before and the kind of destruction that was brought upon the kingdom based on this, based on the princess, right? the kind of contrast there between the two. I love it when the design of the episode matches the feelings in it as well, right? So outside of just the actions of Deathtopia in this episode, the architecture itself is giving you the feeling of opulence, of importance, and grand ego, right? There is only but one person beneath me, right? And he is my thrall, right? Even further below that, in the darkness, in the void that we can't see, would be the humans. There's just so much scale here to how important Deathtopia seems. Again, simple stuff here, but it's a high angle shot. You are like literally kissing her feet in the shot, you know? Of course she has an ego, of course. I love the stained glass here, kind of depicting all of these different kingdoms that Acerola has destroyed simply by traveling and walking through them and being seen, being perceived, right? Each of the stained glass windows smashes, right? Eventually. And again, I've been emphasizing it, ego, right? Okay, oh, that's what's happening. It's this princess character, right? Okay, I'm gonna go destroy them, right? Sounds like a fitting way for it to be my first meal, because again, I've got all this. I'm him, right? Of course, this thing that's been sweeping through kingdoms and defeating them with ease, I know that I'm better, and I'm supremely confident that I'm going to go confront it immediately with all of my power. When I feed on an empty stomach, it must be good food. That's another thing coming through here as well. Remember how I noted the kind of void in the background? Now we very notably have a light, right? Forgive me for voicing my opinion, but this person that you're about to go confront, they are the light in the darkness. They are the perfect antithesis of you. Right? They are the thing that is taking out this grand opulence that you have in front of you right now. The light in the darkness, you know? Great, fantastic. In the process, it also silhouettes my good friend Tropical-esque as well, relating him to the masses of the previous episode that ended up being destroyed, right? It gives him a very human quality almost. Again, being the barrier between kind of Deathtopia and the light. Trying to get between her and her kind of motives here and reaching her destruction. She is substantially more heinous than the average monster. Please reconsider your plan. Remember, you are but a servant. It is not your place to tell me what to do like that. Are you worried that I would become captivated by this woman the same way that everybody else has? Please believe in your master that I would not fall for something like this. But again, this is your folly. This will eventually lead to your destruction, in my opinion. Interesting. Here as well, outright refusing to feed on some corpses before going, right? Trying to strengthen herself up before facing the beautiful princess. No, I only eat humans that I killed myself. We've learned this previous in the episode. That's an element of your moral code that you do that, right? Again, egoing it. I want to stay true to myself and what I believe in instead of taking every precaution when going and meeting this person. I kill and then I eat, both as a vampire and a gourmet. This is a stance I cannot yield on. Right now, my stomach is feeling like some beautiful princess, so I'll go get some beautiful princess. That's how this is going to work for me. Love this depiction as well. So this is the same kind of painting that was there before, but you've placed yourself in it as well. You were like this kind of dark angel here, corrupting her, bringing her close, bringing her into feed, right? But we must remember as well, you are the person that brought all this destruction. So maybe a little bit more than a little bit more of a bite than you can chew right now. Biting off a little bit too much, you know? From here, we demonstrate the power through a quick kind of spin move through here. Very cool. Specifically using him as a kind of platform to jump off of as well. Do not follow me. Again, if we use the same metaphor as before, the light representing the beautiful princess, I'm jumping over this barrier. You are no barrier for me. I choose not to heed your warning at all. Stop calling me just master, that isn't a name befitting of me. Instead, opting for the true name, the suicide master. The death-cheating, death-meeting, death-bringing vampire. This looks fucking sick. Are we even... Hang on. I'm gonna do this like in the video. There we go. I took a screenshot. This may end up being the thumbnail. Don't be surprised if this ends up being the thumbnail. It just looks very, very pretty. From here, Deathtopia goes on her grand journey to go and find the beautiful princess, thus following the trail of destruction that she leaves behind. It's this kind of same fountain from before, this same town, just all the corpses surrounding it, right? And again, her initial starvation is from a form of ego as well, right? She could just feed off of these corpses that are here. She chooses not to. She needs to eat the stuff that she kills. That is her thing. She would rather let herself die than break that code. That's so interesting. Love that. More and more death here, hangings, impalements, spikings, lots of stuff. Just, again, glorious backgrounds. You're surprised about the kind of lengths of the power here, right? Another gorgeous frame. Oh my god, I'm gonna sound like such a nerd. Dark Souls vibes too, for sure. Just this kind of vast stretches of nothing, like no vegetation or whatever, right? Yeah, definitely apocalyptic for sure. Not a surprise at all that when we see Acerola here have the fire going, again, that light in the darkness kind of represented there. And again, this is the first time you see her, and then again, immediately enchanted, right? And died as a result. Again, there was a framing choice here that I really liked. I'm a fucking broken record about it, but she, again, represents the light. You see that light, you see the light unveiled almost between her legs, and that's what ends to your death. Also, yeah, this was blood the entire time. I didn't notice that either. For the third time this episode already, we have Deathtopia here waking up after dying, right? It turns out who was responsible for your death this time? Well, it was a suicide. You could argue that the suicide from the starvation at the very start was suicide as well. Again, the irony of the suicide master being caused to commit suicide by you. In contrast to Deathtopia here, Acerola almost has a different kind of ego, an inevitability kind of ego, right? Like, you may try and hurt me again, but that ultimately is only going to hurt you, so please don't try to do it again. Again, that very opposite style Monogatari feeling. In trying to save yourself, don't try to hurt me anymore. You're going to be more danger to yourself if you try to do so. That's just the fact of life. Very, very interesting. Again, you're incensed by this. You don't believe it. You telling me that not only did I hesitate to harm your beauty, but I actually murdered myself because of it? How did I do that? Again, very smug about it, not believing it at all. Remember, I'm a monster. I'm a vampire. I don't operate on the same rules that all these humans do. But maybe you do. Maybe you do. Adding to the vampire stuff as well, I love a lot of the framing here of you like hanging out of the tree in the house, right? Kind of hanging like a vampire, like a bat, you know? We interpret this as ego from Acerola as well, of apologizing for not being able to be in the service of letting myself die. But that is genuine. You genuinely want to die. You genuinely want this pain to end. Again, it is only out of your compassion for not hurting another person that you're advising them against it. Oh, Suicide Master Sama is fantastic as well. That's good. Again, why don't you have some of my meal? Of course, I won't eat anything that somebody's cooked for me. I need to, kill and eat the things that I kill and eat, It's about only focus on the one, Kind of like the opposite of what you want, right? Where you crave solitude, you claim independence, you claim dependence. Very, very interesting kind of mirror between these two. Again, another point of contrast. You simply introduce yourself as Acerola, right? Not beautiful princess. You don't want any of the accompaniment, right? That's from my childhood. That's a title, a derogatory name. I'd prefer if you just know me on a level, right? Instead of my status and all this negativity that's been brought forth because of it, I'd prefer if you operated to me on a level and just called me by my name. Again, the exact opposite of what Deathtopia wants to do. Deathtopia wants the opulence and the pomp and the circumstance and that kind of stuff, right? You crave the opposite. You crave anonymity. You crave a normal life, but you can't have it. Specifically here, you say that I wasn't even a princess or anything to begin with. I think we imply in the story from the previous episode that you were clearly just granted a title because of your beauty. Everyone thought you were that beautiful that you must be in charge, which again speaks to a lot of things. Truly wondering how things ended up this way. And the sparklies, and the light, and the brightness, right? Upon this moment, you seem to, you seem kind of somber in this moment here, and kind of lean forward and show your neck and that kind of thing, right? I joked in the episode itself that you showed a little bit of cleavage and that caused you to kill yourself. But that's not really what's happening. It's a little bit more of the showing of the neck and of the kind of, what is it, the kind of collarbone there, that kind of area, along with kind of your humbleness, your beginnings, and your manners and all that kind of stuff. It's enchanting to you, and you're brought in once again, and you kill yourself once again. So just counting quickly, that is the third time that you've killed yourself. We have one more, that makes 4, making the one at this portion in the episode the 5th. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now, this is very loaded as well. It seems like, again, you eat the things that you kill. You killed yourself. It left your heart out here in the form of an apple, which you then chew on to feed yourself, right? So there's many different ways you can take this. One, it's a kind of carnivoralization of a vegetarian option, right? So it's almost like you're off eating meat because you're choosing to do this instead of being able to feed on what you want to feed on, right? Again, normally I'd be eating meat. I'd be eating human meat. Because of circumstances, I need to just rely on apples, rely on eating myself. I'm seeing an element of that there. Also, of course, there's the significance of the apple. The apple itself being kind of the symbol biblically of temptation, right? Forbidden fruit. Maybe you're getting yourself into something, getting yourself a little bit deeper than you want to be. Of course, we talk about the demonic angle here as well. You're the demon angle of it. She's maybe the angel. Apparently you like your heart. It's very fresh despite being dead. And as you eat that, I'm eating this. Again, another contrast point between the characters, which I really like. Or even eating meat instead. So you're able to eat meat because you're eating on your own terms, right? Where, again, I'm forced to just eat the apple. I'm not allowed to eat this kind of stuff based on my personal code. More and more very, very beautiful backgrounds. Just fucking gorgeous. Hella fucking gorgeous. Holy shit. As we, again, explain that she's on a journey. She's searching for something, right? In search of a soul to save is what we say. That is the point of everything she's doing here. Again, what is the focus here? Solitude, I guess I would say, from all these paintings, right? The figure is dwarfed in scale by something else, by the natural environment, but there's also nothing around her. You know, there's no adventuring party here. There is barely a skerrick of light coming through the general darkness, right? Again, searching for the light, searching for that soul to save, always moving in that direction, but never quite able to find it, you know? Just fantastic. I love the use of light and dark and scale here in all these paintings. Interestingly enough, you call the princess out on her ego, right? How many countries will lay in ruin because of your noble goal, right? To find this one person to save, to save yourself in that way, right? All for your own salvation. How many people are you willing to sacrifice? Again, big talk from a vampire that regularly feeds on different people. But again, you're meant to be that way. You're meant to be this villainous presence. You're meant to be this beautiful princess that's benevolent. So why are you killing all these nations? But in that way, it's also kind of victim blaming, right? Like, she has no control over it. She's just... What else? Do you want her just to stay holed up in the castle forever and just die? And have nobody ever to see her ever again, ever? Or she can't even die. She's almost in purgatory if she does that. But again, this brings up the point here. Are you going to kill me? I'm willing to die. If I took my own life, that would make things easier for me, right? Should I die instead of doing what I'm doing now and traveling around? Probably, but I can't. If I took my life, it would make things easier for me. But if the same thing were to happen someday again, if there was someone like me who had to end their own life, my own suicide now would be of no assistance to them. Okay, so you're kind of looking to the future in a lot of ways. Yeah, weird line. I don't know what to think about that one. Maybe something with that, with the rest of the events of the show. I don't know, I'm crazy, I don't know what's going on. So very harsh here from Deathtopia, right? Again, Acerola is trying not to exacerbate the issue. She's trying to stay hidden and all this stuff, right? They just eventually find me. But again, you're like, you have no desire to deny your conscience and your sense of aestheticism, right? You have no desire to dull this sense. Again, don't you think I've tried? Don't you think I've tried to do that? To make myself more ugly and all this other stuff, right? Of course she's tried. And implying that she's going on this reckless journey without exhausting all possibilities, I think is quite rude. This vampire is rude. Again, I can think of one way, however, to dull your sense of purity, I guess. And dull this kind of general sense of aestheticism, right? It's through vampirism. That would dull it, right? That would dull your beauty by making yourself a monster, right? Again, I'm sure we're going in that general direction. Again, reconsidering it here, right? Maybe potentially this was just a backdrop for my own stage show of my misery, right? And if I take a different direction, walk a different path, grow a little bit taller, my stage show can change. Something in that, maybe? That's what I think we're getting at with this stuff visually, right? And that's when we come through with the proposition. You may be responsible for this kingdom's destruction, but you can redeem yourself here, right? You don't have to be in a rush to leave. You don't have to worry about killing anybody if you stay here, right? Again, you don't have to worry about killing me. I'm an immortal monster. Again, highlighting how insane some of this stuff is. Just drawing this to be on screen for like 2 seconds is crazy. Because of my ability to cheat death, I'm the only one that can give you counsel. Therefore, stick around with me for a while. I have some amount of knowledge in the occult. I can use that to my advantage in potentially lifting this curse. And again, you don't have to worry about killing me because death can't catch me. Again, when contemplating this, Acerola looks down at kind of the candle there, looks down at that source of light in the room, right? Maybe this is my source of salvation, this kind of burning sensation, you know? Therefore starts one of the first symbiotic relationships we have in the show with the character of Shinobu, right? It's mutually beneficial for us to stay together, right? This is almost the opposite of the mutually unbeneficial situation at the end of Kizumonogatari that Araragi puts them into. That's fantastic. I love that little reversal there. So the mutually beneficial situation is this. You get to die. You get to not spread your benevolence and kill more people and that kind of stuff. That being for Acerola, right? Where you get that status symbol of being the one to smite her and, you know, fulfilling this kind of ego trip thing you have going on of wanting to kill her and feed on her and that kind of thing. Therefore, these two start to work together. Let us make the most of it then. For the first time, I had direct contact with her skin, with her flesh, these shinies shining through the darkness again, leading to another suicide attempt, I guess you would say. Another death for Deathtopia. Maybe I should break down the name Deathtopia as well. It's obviously a play off Utopia or something to that effect, right? Deathtopia and Suicide Master is an interesting combination of names as well. Yeah, very, very cool. Of course, you two are holding hands here as well, which is maybe something. Either way, that was the 4th death. That makes 5 in the episode. That now makes that make a lot of sense. Let's build some more contrast as well. This was the death of a demon. We also mirror that with some candles going out as well, which is pretty smart. We also have the moon up in the sky now, but only a crescent moon, but only a glimmer of hope potentially, a hope that wasn't there before. Remember the establishing shots when we were walking up, there was no moon in the sky. Now at least there is a little bit, right? A little bit of a glimpse of light in the dark. Again, the moon was associated with her before as well, the beautiful princess, the light in the darkness. I remember highlighting that earlier. Now we see the same shot of the castle, the same one we saw earlier, and we have that moon in the sky. There is a sense of light generally in the vicinity that is different to the light that's there normally, right? A blue light as opposed to the red fiery light that's normally making up the corpse castle here. Tropical-esque is a little bit of a he's a little bit obsessive, so he doesn't really like this. I can't believe you would invite a human in here. I can't believe you would invite anybody else in here. I want to be the only one for you and all this other stuff, right? Very, very befitting of this servant-type character. And in the very end here, denying him, I didn't ask for your opinion on this. It's my decision. I'm the master. How fucking good does this fucking background look? What the fuck is all this lighting? We look at this reflection. Okay, anyway, I'm losing my mind. This thing looks insane. With this explicit focus on names as well, Tropical-esque seems to not like that Deathtopia has committed Acerola's name into memory. Again, we will at some point give her the name Kissshot as well, which then will change her. So again, emphasis on these names being important and the names that we give people when remembering names and all that kind of stuff. Hello, Tropical-esque dog strings. I like the visual metaphor here of the billiard balls, right? If you were to go anywhere near her, then this is what would happen to you. You'd flung yourself into a million pieces, and you're not as powerful as me, so it may just be the end for you. Then why let her in if she's this dangerous? Because of my ego, because of my folly as a character. I think that I can best her, thus I'll let her in. Do not question me again, of course. This ingredient that I've brought in, it seems that I cannot swallow her whole. I will leave it to you to figure out the best way to attack her. We must make proper, careful preparations so that she becomes edible. And what is something that we can do to change her, to potentially make her more edible? Make her a vampire. Again, that's what I'm saying. Holy fuck the scale and the backgrounds. And yeah, anyway, I'm gonna stop fucking freaking out about it because the episode's about to end. What do you think I need to do to kill the beautiful princess? That being the ending line of the episode. And then into that ED. which does have different lines that I will now investigate as well. That kind of refrain there is very similar. I think we go into a different verse here, and that's where the kind of lyrics change. Again, the general theming here around being undead and that kind of stuff, that kind of fitting as well with the whole vampiric thing. Unhappy, unlucky, be happy, undead, cut in. For some reason, the future feels just so bleak and devoid of hope. Maybe some Acerola in there as well. The future seems so devoid of hope because I kill everybody that comes near me. I've been around for quite a while, fed up with deja vu a la carte. Again, that kind of fits for both characters, both Deathtopia and Acerola, right? Fed up with everything around for a long time. There's not a hint of anything nice incoming. Such a shame. The years take their toll. Again, same for both characters there, kind of lamenting the passing of time. Even specifically Shinobu here as well. Some of her in the current day lamenting the years taking their toll on her as well and all that she's seen. Left with myths without substance and dull progress. Left with myths without substance. Kind of like this fairy tale that would be better off as a lie instead of being believed. I just want some excitement. I am bored. I'm used to it all. Just kidding. Kind of contradictory there. That's weird. Guidelines getting more detailed. Compliance getting more complicated. Okay, fun little puns here. I feel the lid closing over me. Drain me dry. Pause. Again, that vampire side to it though. Lock, stock, and barrel all taste the same. Undeado. And then I'm not dead yet. This same old refrain coming through again. Living means changing. Don't give up and settle for misfortune. It's not fair to give up striving for happiness. Yeah, weirdly, I relate, again, because this ED shares this portion with the Nadeko stuff, I relate Nadeko a lot to what's going through with Acerola right now. I think that's definitely a lens you can view all of this through. The kind of thematic similarities between what just happened with Nadeko and her story arc versus what happened 600 years ago with this princess lady. Like, that's really cool. Will a demon appear next, or will a snake? Hardy, hardy, ha. Another connection between the two. Encountering encounters starts the story. And yeah, with that, I think we'll close this out. Fuck. I think the new stuff might just be really good. I think this whole season might just be, like, really, really good. Might just be, like, the best Monogatari's ever been. Which is saying something. That's fucking insane. What? Again, I'm sure there's so many other connections that I'm missing, but so much of this seems so. It has so much gravity based on everything that's happened before it and after it, of course, right? We're kind of backfilling here, and all these relationships that Shinobu's made, and all of her kind of nonchalantness about all this stuff, and all of her character actions very early in the show and later in the show, it all just makes so much fucking sense based on this stuff. And I think that is worthy of praise. I think I really, really want to praise this episode for doing that. Specifically, again, I was making a lot of these connections during the shorter episode here today, but that's not to mention the production delight that the next episode is, that episode 7 was. Holy fuck, does it look good. That's insane. So much gothic opulence, I guess is the word I would use. Just awesome. Fucking awesome. So yeah, again, I'll be back next week. I'll just do episode 8. We're going to finish off the arc there. And then I don't know where we go from there. It's strange to me. I don't know what's going on. I don't know who any of you are. Anyway, I'm fucking rambling. All right, I'm going to leave now. Thanks for watching. Patreon, of course, if you want to be that 1 week ahead. Discord, like the video, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And I'll catch you later. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.